Hello, podcast listeners. Boy, if you thought that we go on tangents before, wait until you enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World. I literally just recorded it, and I can't think of all the things that we just talked about. So get out a pad of paper and a pen and take some notes. Enjoy. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
JJ Meets World, take 1.
I love how take 1 sounds like the show is called JJ Mates World.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the point of the new, it's JJ Mates World. And do you remember that idea I pitched for you years ago about a podcast where it's an interview and then the host and like the guest get busy and then it's an interview afterwards just to kind of see how
Are
it
they
flows.
recording between?
Nope.
No.
Nope,
So it's
nope.
before and after.
Yeah, it's not, and it's, I know it sounds salacious, but I'm like, well, what happens to that conversation when it's pillow talk?
Yeah, the introduction of the episode is them meeting at the restaurant. It's a one-night stand. And then, you know, you do like a 10-minute, maybe 15-minute intro, and then you let the music come up and you go, all right, now it's 2 hours later. You know,
Yeah.
and now you're each smoking a cigarette.
Right, there's a little bit of like, woo,
Yeah.
you know, or
okay.
disappointment.
Let's say you are the host of that show. What is your first question when you're in pillow talk mode?
Oh, so the post?
Yeah, well, I mean, so okay, hey, so I'm here with, you know,
Let's get deep into this, because is it always the same question, or is it something that comes up in the middle where like, hey, listen, I noticed at one point that you screamed partial lyrics to Jingle Bells. And so I'm just curious, what is it about Jingle Bells? Or is it the same question every time to be like, all right, this is the primer for getting back into the convo?
it's an opportunity. If we were to standardize that first question,
Okay.
we could then name the podcast after it.
Okay.
Right. So was it good for you too, or something like that?
Right, yeah.
How, or, you know, all right, 1 to 10, how did I do? Right. So basically, the whole point is you find out, and you're like, I want brutal honesty, and you're gonna get a rating from your temporary lover right there, and then you're gonna unpack that.
I think that's the title of the podcast is Temporary Lover.
Temporary lover.
I mean, I know that we're, you know, joking about this, but there's a market for that podcast out there.
There's got to be an adult. I mean, there's no way there aren't adult like porn actors who have podcasts.
Okay, actually, I didn't intend on talking about this, but I'm going to talk about this because my algorithm on Instagram has been flooded with. There are like, that's the big thing right now, is there are like OnlyFans models and porn stars who are going on all these podcasts, video podcasts, and they're telling stories. There's a woman who tells an obnoxious story about how she got drunk and she was walking up and down the Hollywood Hills on Thanksgiving, just like knocking on doors. And she ends up at like a house and she ends up like banging one of the guys who's in this house, who are all little people. And she's telling this story, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, if a drunk porn star knocked on my door on Thanksgiving, I'd be like, hey, listen, I'm busy, but thanks for coming by. So that being said, it really bothers me because the numbers that they have for their podcast for these things, you know, like are just through the roof. And I get it. Sure. You want to peel back the onion a little bit. You want to find out what it's like. You want to know about that industry. And there's a couple that are doing a really good job. Well, what's her name? She's a director. Bree Mills is a director in the adult industry who's known for approaching the stuff that she makes to be like, listen, I don't want these to be porn fantasies. I want them to be more realistic and to like help people explore, what they're doing. And she's been on she was on CBS Sunday Morning a couple weeks ago, and the interview was out of this world. Essentially, they were starting to talk about this, and she goes, hold on, wait a minute. Your idea of the industry that I work in is a dark warehouse somewhere, and that's just not what it is. And about how, she's like, we champion things like making sure testing is done on a regular basis. And she goes, a lot of intimacy coordinators that Hollywood is using came from our industry and what we're doing. And so she's got a podcast. I haven't listened to it because it's behind a paywall on an adult site, and I just can't bring myself to let the credit card get charged for that. I just can't get quite there yet.
I paid for our McDonald's in cash today. You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to give less money to payment processors.
Oh.
Yeah. And
okay, hold on.
This is a right turn. Yeah. I understand. But it connected so beautifully.
It does.
So a habit I'm into now, because, we all have those incidental things we buy, right? I'm going to get a candy bar. I'm going to go get some McDonald's, right? Or something like that. Something that hits you at the moment. You're like, I'm going to do that right now, right? And our lives are filled with those little things. Well, I try to track my finances and all that kind of stuff, and keeping track of those purchases is always a pain in the ass. And I thought, you know what, let's just get rid of the payment processing and let's just go back the way they did it in the old times, back in the 1990s when we used cash. And it's fun. And I even made it even more fun by getting 4 Ninja Turtle piggy banks at home. And so Leonardo is for quarters, Donatello is for dimes, Michelangelo is for nickels, and can you guess what Raphael is for?
It's going to be for the quarter or the silver dollars. Pennies,
which have now been discontinued.
Right. I was going to say, poor Raphael's not going to have a purpose pretty quick here.
Yeah, well, now I think I need to start hoarding pennies.
Okay. My favorite thing as a kid is when someone gave me non-traditional money for my birthday. So, for example, $2 bills, 50-cent pieces. Those things rocked my world. And we have a vending machine here that if you were to put a $5 bill in and you bought something that was $2.25, it would spit out 3 quarters and then 2 of the Sakakawea coins. And have you ever tried using one of those?
I mean, I haven't
$1
seen
coins?
one of those since the year or two after they came out.
Get one and then try and spend it. And they're going to be like, no.
Yeah.
People just don't know enough about that coin.
Right.
Even a 50-cent piece at this point, most places are like, what? I'm going to have to ask my manager real quick.
Do they even mint those anymore?
I don't believe so. And if they do, it's like every 5 years, right?
Right.
My grandfather had a big coin collection, the type of thing where they're in velvet, display cases and stuff like that. And my mom inherited it from him, and then my sister and I inherited it from my mom. And so we had this giant thing, and our lawyer was like, well, you got to go get it appraised. I said, well, I don't know how to do that. And he goes, well, you can buy a coin collector's magazine, which is what they used to do with baseball cards back in the days. Essentially, it was a giant magazine that had
comic
a listing of what the value was. And he goes, and you can go through and do them all. And I'm like, that sounds ridiculous. And he goes, or for a fee, you can take it into one of the coin collecting shops. And so it was my sister's job to bring it into the coin collecting shops. But here's the thing. They were in these 4 giant Rubbermaid tubs, and she wasn't strong enough to lift them. So when she brought them in, she brought in a bag full, and then she went back and she's like, can I have the bag? And she goes to refill the bag, and then she's going to bring it in again. And they're finally like, do you need some help? And so they went out and brought these things in. And I think because my sister was young and blonde, and these were coin collectors, so you can kind of guess in the back of your mind what they were. I don't think that they charged her anything for appraising the whole collection, but it took them 3 months to get the whole thing done.
Damn.
And, we were hoping that they'd come back with $1 million.
Yeah.
And they were probably $6,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would assume that it's the older coins that actually have that metal in them, and are actual and have certain it's this era when they had this on the back of the penny or something like that, because those are worth more. I guess I don't know.
The haystack pennies or something like that, where something that was big, or we've discussed on this podcast, your uncle called it silver mining,
right?
Where he would order $500 worth of 50-cent pieces, and anything that was before 1970 blank had X amount of actual silver in it, and so it wasn't worth 50 cents. It was now worth $1.80, and so you would just keep those, and then you'd bring the rest back, and then you'd be like, "I'll take another $500."
I'd say those days are gone now.
I think they definitely are. I mean, people got wise, and there were people who made a ton of money off of that, right? Hey, how's Cash for Gold work? You know, those things where you send in your gold?
You bring your gold in and they give you cash for it.
Yeah, but okay, so, and then they're paying you less than the gold is worth?
I would assume it's less than the spot. I would assume it's along the same lines of, you get those flyers in the mail. It's like, hey, we'll buy your house for cash today, right? And it's because they're hoping you're someone who is desperate. And so I think it's just like selling anything at a pawn shop, right? Well, I'll give you this much for it because I think I could get X amount for it, but they've got the spot price. There was a period of time where I was really into buying silver. And then I got out of that because I realized this is all just speculation and a scam and kind of a thing. But it was fun for a period of time. It actually to hold a piece of silver in your hand, and it felt cool. It felt like real money. But at the end of the day, the people who are telling you should buy silver, you should buy gold, are the ones selling silver and gold.
I have a guy who is on my show on a regular basis who's all about gold. And I'm like, so you telling me you got like a gold bar in your basement? Because someone's going to come rob you. And they're going to show up on a horse, and they're going to be wearing a bandana over their face, and they're going to pull out a 6-shooter, and then they're going to get away on a train because they're going to Old West rob you. And that's just the way she rolls.
Yeah. At some point in our lifetime, we're probably looking at a cashless society.
We are a breath away from it. Yeah. And in all honesty, so I was just at an event recently that it's a bunch of small businesses of makers across the state of North Dakota. And I walked around and I said, do you accept cash or card? And they said, everyone accepts card. Because they even they did a class to help them people get ready because people aren't carrying around that money anymore. Even finding an ATM can be difficult in this modern era. And so, of course, a cashless society is the past. And in all honesty, they did a great job training our generation in because we're the first generation to get a card, a student ID card that had a barcode on the back that they could scan that was tied into our lunch account. And so gone are the days of where there would be one of the secretaries from your school who would sit there and then have a little grid sheet and be like, okay, Tucker got hot lunch today. And if you ran out of money, they wouldn't know for a week or two. And then they'd call your parents and be like, Tucker needs more in his lunch account. I think one of the interesting things is the amount of money that ends up getting lost in the system, I think is quite significant because let me ask you this. On the last day of your senior year of high school, did you collect a check from your school?
Oh, no. I mean,
for whatever was still in your lunch account?
At that point, I'd stopped using a lunch account. It was already empty, so no.
Are you sure it was zeroed out?
Yeah.
Okay, because what if there was 20 cents in it?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Maybe there wasn't enough for you to buy that piece of pizza that you wanted, but maybe there was a small amount of money left in there.
Right.
Do you ever go to Unclaimed property, the Unclaimed property website? Oh, Tucker, do I have a fun thing for you to do today?
I definitely don't need new things to spend money on.
Okay. No. It's not. You don't spend any money on it. Oh. So legally, a place like Fargo Public Schools, a public school district, or a business, if you have a paycheck that you never cash, so let's say you quit a job and you walked out and they owe you from your shift that day and they mail you maybe they don't mail you a check, right? Maybe you started working there, but you moved and so the check gets returned to them. So they've got this check for Tucker that's for $41. They legally cannot keep that money. That is your money that they paid to you. Okay. So what they do is they turn it over to the state of North Dakota, the state that you most previously had lived in, and it becomes what they call unclaimed property. Okay. You can go in and search your name and I think your birth date and find out. My sister did it and she found out that she had a check for $500. Credit card companies do the same thing. So let's say you paid a bill, but you didn't realize you had already paid an amount and you did a little overage and you closed the credit card. They now owe you money. Unclaimed property is fascinating, and it's a really neat way. I found stuff that was owed to me from an old apartment building where one of us when we were moving out hadn't cashed the check for our security deposit back, but since I was the signer on the place, it went under me, and so I was able to find it. Now it doesn't accrue interest. It just sits there in a fund and sits and sits and sits. And so some people find out, oh, Sears owed me money from 1971.
Wow.
And it's just been sitting there. Unclaimed property is really amazing, and it doesn't cost anything. This is a service that the state essentially has to provide. I think they farm it out to like a company that handles the web part of it now.
Mm-hmm. But this is interesting. Yeah, I'm not listed.
Okay.
And neither is my dad. But I am seeing a lot of Lucases here, and it's like, oh, this person. Oh, interesting.
My sister used to just do our last name and then see if anyone else that we knew, right? And so Chrissy was diligent about every couple of years going on and checking it out. I wonder if she still is. But that was one of those things I thought was fascinating.
How does she spell her legal first name?
I'm not going to say that over a podcast, right? I am also fascinated too to find out that so many people have like small amounts. It's like finding a treasure, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, exciting. And for a while, you used to have to go state by state. And so you'd think, okay, well, if I lived in Illinois for a while and I also was in Minnesota for a little bit and I was also in North Dakota, like there are all these places where you can go to find some stuff.
I found one that might be her.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is there an amount that's listed there?
Amount between $100 and $500.
Ooh.
Holder name, Amco Insurance Company.
Oh.
It could be her. I don't know if it's her or not.
It might be.
I think it is. I mean, it might be. I don't know.
It honestly, like it might be. You never know. And isn't that fascinating?
It is. It is very fascinating.
And so, congratulations, listener. You just got sent down a rabbit hole. I hope you really appreciate it. By the time this podcast comes out, Tucker, we will have had Thanksgiving, we will have had Black Friday, and we will be into Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday, and whatever they call Sunday.
This is going out tomorrow.
This is coming out tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Then forget I said any of that.
Yeah,
Are you going to be buying anything for Black Friday?
No.
No?
But I am excited for Thanksgiving.
You said you were.
Yeah. We weren't recording yet, so that's when I.
Oh, so you wanted to let the listeners know
I wanted to let the listeners know that I have an idea, and you seem to like it, about doing a mid-year Thanksgiving, so that we don't have to wait till Thanksgiving to have Thanksgiving meal.
You know who would love that? The Turkey Growers Association.
Ooh, yeah.
They'd be like, listen, we are all about it. We will have some fat birds ready to go.
Are there turkeys available year-round?
Yes,
There are?
absolutely. Do you know what state produces the most turkeys in the United States?
I don't.
Minnesota.
Interesting.
By leaps and bounds.
Something about the water?
Yeah, I think it's the water. I think they also like the nice attitude of the people up
Their
here.
progressive politics.
Yeah. Have you, okay. I don't know if we talked about this. There's a great episode of JJ Meets World that's all about turkey, which, by the way, like if you have not listened to that one.
Talk about spatchcocking, talk about all sorts of stuff, brining.
Oh, do you follow my Instagram?
Yeah, I saw your spatchcock thing recently.
Did you see that? Weber put out the best spatchcocking video I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I love it.
So good.
I love watching people blood eagle their turkey. I absolutely love it.
Okay, so let me talk a little bit about fowl, about birds, okay?
It's spelled with a W, not a U.
Yep. Or it could be fowl, right? Mm-hmm. So I love just a traditional frozen turkey that you get. I've purchased fresh turkeys that come like directly from a grower that essentially like, hey, slaughtered, and then we clean it and we get it ready for you. But the worst turkey I ever had in my life was called a heritage turkey. And a heritage turkey is a farmed turkey, but it's not farmed in the way that modern turkeys are. It's sort of like a free-range, old-school turkey. So when you see those turkeys that are not as plump, but they're more slender, they're kind of goose-shaped, that's usually a heritage turkey. I spent over $100 to purchase a heritage turkey. And it's got a wild game kind of taste to it.
Okay.
I don't like wild game. I'm just not that person. It's not my type of thing. The only wild game that I actually enjoy is pheasant, because we have a recipe for pheasant stroganoff that is out of this world. It'll crush anything you've ever had before. And
So no venison. You don't like venison.
I don't like venison. I mean, Joel Heitkamp at work brings deer sausage in every year, and so I get a ring of deer sausage. It's good.
Yeah, every time I've had venison, I'm like, I'm good for the year.
But you take like a deer sausage, and it's usually mixed with like pork.
Right.
Like it's never just deer. And I know people,
Deer is the filler, basically.
right. And I know plenty of people who love the taste of venison, and like they'll use a venison like backstrap steak, and they just get into that, and they like it, and it's a lean red meat, right? And I'm just not one of those people. I've had black bear, I've had ostrich.
Interesting.
I've eaten a lot of animals over my years, and none of them really compare to the stuff that I can get. Like a good old-fashioned butterball turkey, I think, is out of this world, and you just can't beat it. That being said, this is the time of year that I do something that is very irresponsible. In fact, I'm gonna tell a story here that I had swore I was never going to tell. So I buy a bunch of turkeys before Thanksgiving. Like right now, they are like 87 cents a pound at the grocery store. So I will buy 6, 7, maybe even 10 frozen turkeys. But keeping 10 frozen turkeys takes a lot of freezer space. So we've got a chest freezer, or like a standing freezer in my basement. And so I load that up. But even that right now is full because I still have 2 turkeys left from last year.
Wow.
And it's because one of my favorite things is Thanksgiving dinner outside of the realm of Thanksgiving. So mid-July, I'll, pop something out, right?
Right.
And like turkey on a grill with just a bunch of like white buns and potato chips. It's a great meal. So a couple of years ago, I had a pickup truck, and I had purchased it from my father-in-law. And like at first I owned a pickup truck with your dad, and then we sold that, and then I owned this one, and it is just sitting in my driveway. For those 3 times a year I needed a pickup. It was a dumb purchase, but like I was excited about it, right? So I bought these turkeys, and I'm like, son of a bee, I don't have the freezer space. It just doesn't exist. What am I going to do with these turkeys? So then I said, you know what? I'm not driving this pickup. What if I put these in the back? Because I parked the pickup outside. It's the middle of winter. It is way below freezing. Like days aren't even getting above 15 degrees at that time. So I put these 3 turkeys in the back of the pickup, and I don't forget about them. I think about them until I don't. And mid-March, I was like, oh, shit, I got those turkeys. That's right. So I go and I open up the back, and it reeks. And even though the temperatures had been cool, the sun was still beating down. Yeah. And so the sun was essentially making it warm enough that these turkeys had thawed out at one point. And even though the turkeys are wrapped, it's like shrink wrapped in that plastic, a frozen turkey can rip through that. Like a frozen wing can rip through that, no sweat.
So much liquid in there.
Bingo.
So much liquid in there.
So I get the turkeys and I throw them into the garbage.
The cats in your neighborhood were like, what the fuck is
this? Smells so good. So this truck reeks of old turkey, old raw turkey.
In the truck, not like in the trunk bed.
Yeah, correct. Because my thought was, if I put it in the trunk bed, then animals will come for it. But if I put it inside the truck, it's safe. I'm surprised we didn't get bears who showed up.
Yeah.
So I shampooed the carpet. I did everything I could to try and like fix this over and over and over. I brought in Ozium. I put charcoal on it. I did everything. That stink never left the back seat of that car. And at one point I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna sell this truck. I'm gonna sell this. And like the guy who picked it up like got in, and I had just like cleaned it out, and he goes like, and I was like, yeah, it kind of stinks. And he goes, it's all right. I just use it for a farm truck. And I'm like, good. Take it out to where the manure is spread. And I will not say another word about this until today when I talk about my turkey mishap from all those years ago. I can't even begin to tell you. It stunk so bad.
At what cadence throughout the year are you making a Thanksgiving style meal?
Whoa. Throughout the year, I would say I'm making at least 2 outside of Thanksgiving, like full Thanksgiving meals where I make stuffing, I make mashed potatoes and gravy.
I thought you were like 8 or 9 turkeys.
I am. But just because I make a turkey doesn't mean it has to be a full Thanksgiving meal.
Oh, okay. Let me rephrase then. What's the cadence that you're cooking these turkeys throughout the year?
Like 10 times.
Okay. Got it.
Like sometimes I will turn it into shredded turkey if I'm having like a bunch of people over.
Monthly, you're cooking a turkey.
Yeah. And then I love turkey soup. And so I whatever's left over for the meat, I boil the bones, I make a brine or a broth, excuse me, and then I make a delicious turkey soup out of it.
That's probably really cheap too.
Oh, it's so cheap. Dude, it's making soup is the best way to extend the life of whatever like you are cooking.
I guess it also means that you are therefore well practiced at making turkeys as well.
Yeah.
Because that's always the story of people like, I don't normally cook, but I'm going to cook a turkey for us. And that becomes the whole debacle. I don't know how many Thanksgiving movies center around someone fucking up the turkey.
Yeah, almost all of them. I mean, name one. I think Planes, Trains, and Automobiles might be the only one where they don't talk about messing up the turkey in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. By the way, do you want to know, you've never seen Home for the Holidays, have you?
Is that with James Gandolfini?
Nope. No.
There's so many of those movies.
That what is that one called? That's like
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I think, is in that one.
No, Christina Applegate is. It's James Gandolfini, it's Catherine O'Hara, Ben Affleck. Surviving Christmas.
Christmas.
That movie's garbage.
So, Home for the Holidays
came out in the mid '90s. It's directed by Jodie Foster and it stars Holly Hunter.
Yes.
In addition to like Robert Downey Jr.
Yep. Okay.
That movie is perfect. I'm telling you, like, even all these years later. And do you want to know why it's perfect? Because families don't change. Families don't change. Going home for the holidays doesn't matter. Geraldine Chaplin, who's Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter, is in it. And she's an older woman at this point. She plays Aunt Gladys. I am telling you, I laugh so hard during that movie. And it's not like laugh out loud. Like it's not like you're watching Dumb and Dumber. It is, oh my God, this is so real. This feels so like they ripped it right out of my own house.
That sounds to me like Mother with Albert
it's
Brooks
and the same exact
Debbie
thing.
Reynolds.
Debbie Reynolds.
My God, I still routinely, just if I'm in the mood to watch a clip, I'll pull up the block of cheese. Mm-hmm. That's such a. It is. It's one of those perfectly acted, perfectly written, step by step, where Debbie Reynolds and Albert Brooks can absolutely, like, their chemistry is just so good. When you mentioned the Butterball Turkey Hotline, it made me think of, there's a West Wing episode that I just posted recently, and a scene from the West Wing. It's one of my favorite scenes for 2 reasons. One, it mentions Fargo, North Dakota multiple times, and they get the zip code wrong. But it's also...
Like, how wrong?
Completely wrong. Like, totally wrong. So the whole premise is Jed Bartlett, President Bartlett, played by Martin Sheen. It's Thanksgiving. He loves Thanksgiving. And he's talking everyone's ear off about how you got to cook the stuffing this way, got to do that, got to do this, got to do that. Got to do it all right. And he's talking to his body man, Charlie. And he's like, it would, if only there was there should be like a hotline where people can call in and talk to cooks and experts on how they should cook their turkey. And Charlie goes, there is. It's called the Butterball Hotline. The Butterball Hotline. So Jed Bartlett finds out that there's a 1-800 number for Butterball where you can call and talk to someone. And so he has like his secretary call and he's talking to his like chief communications officer or whatever. And then like, hello, Butterball Hotline, and he realizes what's going on. And then you watch the president pretend he's someone else and get schooled by this lady about Butterball turkeys. And he's so bad at creating like a name. He's like, my name is John Bertherington and I'm from Fargo, North Dakota. And then she's like, okay, what's your address? And he's trying to come up with the address, and Toby's communications director calls like the main office and goes, I need the zip code for Fargo, North Dakota right away, please. And then the zip code they throw at us totally wrong. But it reminds me of how those of us who are from here, anytime we see or hear Fargo, North Dakota get mentioned in some piece of media.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a big deal for us. But for some reason, they always get the goddamn zip code wrong. Salute Your Shorts had an episode.
I was going to reference this where Ugg was dating the postal lady. Uh-huh.
And she knows all the zip codes.
But now she's only off by one digit, though.
Does she say
right?
58104?
She says 58104.
Which we have now.
Which we have now, but I don't believe at the time we did.
I don't think
and I remember being a little kid because I was watching it when I was supposed to be getting ready for church. And I was
Fargo,
like,
North Dakota.
What?
And you stand at attention. And then she goes, 58104. You're like, no, that's not right. West Wing got it way off. Way off. So
so there's three things I want to reference. Number one, also in the movie Mother, if you're not watching the clip when they go to the pet store, it's genius because Albert Brooks has been telling his mother that he doesn't want, like, people don't need to know his personal business. Like, you don't need to go and tell everyone our personal business. Nobody cares. And so they're looking at this dog, and the dog costs like $3,000. She's like, oh, don't do it. He's like, well, I'm not going to break its neck. I'm not Lenny from Of Mice and Men. And she steps away for a second. He's like, look at you, you little cutie. And then he looks over, and they do this zoom in on his face, and he's got these wide eyes, and he looks over there, and his mother is talking to a clerk, and she points over, and then it zooms in, and you just see her mouth. Like, it's just her mouth. So tight. It's perfectly chosen. She's like, that's my son. He's divorced. And it slows it down. Actually, it's his second divorce. They just can't seem to stay married. I don't know. And then it cuts to them arguing on an escalator. And a little hidden thing is there's another mother and son behind them, but like a 12-year-old son arguing with his mom. That movie is perfect. One of my favorite zip code related pieces of humor is from the movie In and Out with Kevin Kline, which I love, where Kevin Kline is a teacher in a small town and one of his like former students outs him as being gay during the Academy Awards, but he's about to get married and he's like, I'm not gay. And so Tom Selleck shows up in this town and he works for like a TMZ style, like Access Hollywood. And so he's interviewing anybody who he can find in the town. So he interviews like the barber and he's like, yes, I cut his hair. He gets the same trim every 3 weeks, you know? And then he interviews this postal worker who's played by this really like kind of frail and weak old man. And he goes, I deliver his mail every day in rain or, you know, and he goes, all right. And then the guy is like, is this national? And he goes, yes, it is. He goes, please use your full zip code. And I think about that every time I address an envelope because how often are you putting zip +4?
was that the movie where you saw Tom
The
Selleck's
tie,
and you were like,
and then you were like, I love that tie. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one where I said I love the tie. Right after everyone was like, JJ, how do you feel about this movie? Because everyone thinks that you might be gay. And be like, I'm not, but I love that tie. And I still stand by it. It's a great tie, not only on Tom Selleck, but if I could find it, I'd have it.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving, Tucker.
Happy Thanksgiving, JJ.
I hope that you have a great time, and I hope that nothing bad happens to you.
Ditto.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. Sad to say, it turns out Tucker did have something bad happen on Thanksgiving. He won the lottery, and his evil twin brother stole the ticket and claimed it. Now, what's ironic is his twin brother has no facial hair, not like the regular evil goatee.